Have you ever stood in front of a closet so stuffed with clothes it won't even close? Complaining that you have nothing to wear, yet you absolutely refuse to throw out that t-shirt from high school with the torn armpit? The one you swear you'll wear again someday, even though someday is probably during a zombie apocalypse when you need a rag to wipe away the blood. If the answer is yes, then congratulations, you're not weird. You are simply a perfect victim of one of the most spectacular and ancient tricks our own brain plays on us, the fear of loss. Or, to use the fancy term from behavioral economics, loss aversion. It's a simple psychological effect that dictates almost every decision you make. From tossing out a shirt to missing out on a life-changing opportunity. It operates on one cruel rule: the pain of losing $50 stings, gnaws at you, and haunts you twice, maybe even 3 times more intensely than the joy of finding $50. Finding money is nice. You might treat yourself to a good meal, and then you forget about it. But losing money? Oh, that's a Greek tragedy, an unfinished Beethoven symphony, the sharp, agonizing pain of stubbing your pinky toe on a table leg. That feeling will follow you all day, maybe all week, making you torment yourself with what ifs, if onlys, and why me? Our brain, fundamentally, is a pessimist and a hoarder. It was programmed back in prehistoric times, when losing a berry bush could mean starvation, while finding a new one was simply a bonus. Loss equaled danger, even death. Gaining something was just better. That ancient instinct is still perfectly preserved inside our modern skulls, and it creates some truly absurd situations. First, let's go back to your tragic closet. Why don't you throw that old shirt away? Because the act of throwing away triggers the loss center in your brain. You are losing a possession, even if it's worthless. That subtle pain of loss is greater than the vague pleasure of gaining a tidy closet. Your brain, like a tiny, anxious gremlin living in your head, will scream at you, "Don't throw it out. It's a waste. What if you need it later?" So you keep it. You also keep the dead Nokia phone from a decade ago, the books you swore you'd read but never opened, and a pile of souvenirs you bought on an impulse trip. You turn your home into a museum of just-in-case items. All because you can't stand the feeling of losing. But the story doesn't stop at physical objects. It gets much worse when it comes to money and your career. This is where the brain's trickery becomes more sophisticated. Imagine you're an amateur stock investor. You buy a stock, and by some miracle, it goes up 20%. What do? Most likely, you'll rush to sell it to lock in your profit. Why? Because your brain is screaming, "Sell now. Take the money and run," before it drops and you lose everything. The fear of losing that 20% gain is far greater than the desire to gain a 50% or 100% profit. You'd rather take a small, sure win than take a risk. And so, you miss out on a massive bull run, all because your fear of loss won. Conversely, what if that stock drops 20%? Now your logic does a complete 180. You will cling to it for dear life, telling yourself, "Hold on. It's not a real loss until you sell." I'm not selling. Why? Because the act of selling means officially acknowledging a loss. The pain of making that failure real is so immense that you'd rather hold onto a shrinking asset, nursing the false hope that it will bounce back. This is just like buying a ticket to a terrible movie. Instead of walking out to save 2 hours of your life, you force yourself to sit through to the end, telling yourself, "I already paid for the ticket." You're trying to avoid the pain of losing money, only to suffer an even greater pain, losing time. And the peak of this irony is in our careers. You're in a boring job. The pay is mediocre. There's no room for advancement. But it's stable. Suddenly, a new opportunity appears. A more interesting job. More potential. Better pay. But of course, it comes with risk. What do you think? Your loss-averse brain will immediately paint an apocalyptic picture. What if I lose my stability? What if I lose my familiar colleagues? What if the new company goes bankrupt? What if the new boss is a nightmare? Everything you could possibly lose is magnified tenfold. Meanwhile, everything you could gain, a brilliant career, a more meaningful life, is shrunk down to a distant, hazy possibility. In the end, you choose to stay. You choose the certain but mediocre over the Possible, but wonderful. Our brain would rather we be a sprouting potato in a familiar, dark corner of the pantry than take a chance on becoming a plate of crispy, golden French fries at a fancy restaurant. We are more afraid of losing the gilded cage, even though it's imprisoning us, than we are desirous of the open sky outside. So what? Are we forever slaves to our brains? Not necessarily. The first and most important key is awareness. It's knowing that you're being tricked. The next time you face a decision, from cleaning out your closet to changing your career, just pause for a second and ask yourself, am I making this decision based on what I could potentially gain? Or simply because I'm terrified of losing what I already have? Recognizing this trap is the first step to escaping it. We can't change our ancient instincts, but we can use our reason to manage them. Don't let the fear of losing a few dollars prevent you from earning a fortune. Don't let the fear of tossing an old object stop you from having a wonderful living space. And never, ever let the fear of losing a false sense of security rob you of a life worth living.